Dean Martin, often referred to as the King of Cool, was one of the most influential entertainers of the 20th century. Born in 1917, he became a household name through his smooth voice, iconic roles in Hollywood films, and unforgettable performances as part of the Rat Pack alongside Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. Known for his effortless charm and wit, Martin's career spanned music, television, and film, leaving behind a legacy that continues to captivate audiences today. But as with many celebrities, there are layers to his life that remain unknown to the public, especially regarding his children. In this video, we will explore the untold truth about Dean Martin's children, uncovering personal stories, challenges, and the impact of growing up with a father who was a superstar. Dean Martin's children have had a unique experience, navigating both the shadow of his fame and their own paths in life. A look at Dean Martin's family. Before we dive into the personal revelations from his children, let's take a quick look at the family Dean Martin created. He was married 3 times, and from those marriages he had 8 children. His first wife, Elizabeth Betty McDonald, gave birth to Dean Jr. and a daughter named Gail. His second marriage to Jeannie Beeger resulted in 3 children, Craig, Claudia, and Richie. Finally, his marriage to Catherine Hahn brought him 2 more children, Sasha and Danny. Dean Martin's children were all born during different stages of his illustrious career, which meant they experienced his fame in different ways. Some were raised in the glitz and glamour of Hollywood's golden age, while others came into their own as the media landscape changed dramatically. Throughout it all, they had to deal with being the children of one of the most famous men in the world. Dean Jr., a life cut short. Dean Martin's eldest son, Dean Paul Martin, known as Dean Jr., had a promising career ahead of him, but his life was tragically cut short. Born in 1951, Dean Jr. was a talented man in his own right. He pursued a career in music and acting, following in his father's footsteps, but also carved out his own identity. He even became a member of the U.S. Air Force, which added another layer to his multifaceted personality. Dean Jr. was best known for his role as a member of the Rat Pack during the early years of the 1970s. However, his time in the public eye was brief, and it wasn't until later in life that he began to make a name for himself in television and film. Unfortunately, at the age of 35, Dean Jr. was killed in a plane crash in 1987, a tragedy that devastated his family and friends. His siblings remember him fondly, with some noting that he shared his father's sense of humor and was also a talented musician. Dean Jr. was known to have a deep respect for his father's career, but he also had the ambition to create a name for himself apart from the Martin legacy. The struggles of growing up with a superstar father. Growing up in the household of a man as famous as Dean Martin wasn't always as glamorous as it seemed on the surface. His children, especially those who were born in the 1950s and 1960s, experienced their father's career at a time when he was at the height of his fame. For many of his children, this meant living in the public eye, facing constant media attention and the pressure of being associated with someone of Dean Martin's caliber. Dean Jr. and his siblings often had to navigate the challenges of being the children of a superstar while trying to form their own identities. While Dean Martin was known for his cool demeanor and relaxed public persona, he was also a complex man who had his own set of struggles. He battled personal demons, including struggles with alcoholism, which often put a strain on his relationships with his family. Dean's children were not immune to the difficulties that came with this, and some have spoken about how his behavior affected their upbringing. Despite this, his children have always spoken with great admiration for him, remembering him as a loving father who, despite his flaws, was always there for them when it mattered most. Many of them have also expressed that Dean Martin was a man who worked hard to provide for his family, but he never let the pressures of fame overwhelm his role as a father. Dean Martin's daughter Claudia, a voice of truth. Claudia Martin, the daughter of Dean Martin, has been particularly vocal in sharing her thoughts on growing up as the child of such a famous figure. In numerous interviews over the years, Claudia has opened up about her relationship with her father and the challenges of living in his shadow. She recalls that while her father was often busy with his career, he always made time for his children. Claudia describes him as a supportive and loving father who made sure that they understood the value of hard work and family. However, she has also been candid about the emotional toll of having a father who was so widely adored. Claudia has admitted that she sometimes struggled with the expectations placed upon her and her siblings, as well as the pressure to live up to the Martin name. She has talked openly about how hard it was to feel like she was always being compared to her father's legacy, and how that made it difficult to pursue her own passions. In addition to her public life, Claudia has had her own career as an actress and singer. She worked in Hollywood for a time, appearing in TV shows and films, but she eventually decided to step away from the entertainment industry and focus on her family. Her decision to step out of the limelight was partly due to the personal struggles she faced with being constantly in the public eye. Claudia's candidness about her experiences has helped to shed light on the untold truth of being Dean Martin's daughter, and the emotional complexity of growing up with such an iconic father. Richie Martin carrying the family legacy. Richie Martin, another of Dean's sons, is perhaps the most connected to his father's legacy. Like his father, Richie has worked in entertainment, pursuing a career in music and television. He has always been proud of his father's work, and has spent much of his own career celebrating the Martin family name. Richie has spoken publicly about how important it is to him to honor his father's memory. In 2013, he released an album titled Richie Martin Sings Dean Martin, in which he covered some of his father's most famous songs. Richie has said that the album was a way for him to pay tribute to Dean's music and share his father's incredible talent with a new generation of fans. While Richie's career has been largely focused on preserving the Martin legacy, he has also faced his own struggles. Richie has dealt with the pressures of being constantly compared to his father and has often been asked about his relationship with Dean. In interviews, Richie has been candid about the emotional weight of living under the shadow of such a famous parent. Despite the challenges, Richie has remained proud of his father's legacy and continues to share the music that made Dean Martin a legend. Sasha Martin, a daughter's perspective. Sasha Martin, the youngest of Dean Martin's children, has had a more private life compared to her older siblings. Born to Catherine Hahn, Sasha has always maintained a lower profile in the public eye. However, she has occasionally spoken out about her father and the impact he had on her life. In her interviews, Sasha has described her father as a man of deep integrity and love. She remembers him as a father who was dedicated to his family despite his demanding career. Sasha has talked about how much she appreciated his support and guidance throughout her life. As the youngest of Dean's children, Sasha didn't experience the same level of fame and media attention that her older siblings did. This allowed her to have a more private childhood, which she has described as a blessing in many ways. Sasha's relationship with her father was marked by a deep bond, and she has shared that she is proud to be his daughter. She often speaks about how she hopes to continue his legacy in her own way. The untold truth, the family's reflection. The untold truth about Dean Martin's children isn't just about the challenges they faced growing up with a famous father, but also about the love and respect they have for him. While there were undoubtedly difficulties, especially with the pressures of living in the public eye, Dean Martin's children have largely spoken about him in glowing terms. They remember him as a supportive father who always made sure they had what they needed, both emotionally and financially. This is Lucha. Their personal stories highlight the complexities of living under the shadow of fame and how each of them has navigated that in their own way. Some have embraced the spotlight, continuing to work in the entertainment industry, while others have chosen to live quieter lives away from the public eye. A legacy that lives on. Dean Martin may have passed away in 1995, but his legacy continues to live on through his music, films, and the stories shared by his children. His children, in their own unique ways, have carried the Martin name forward, with each of them contributing to the family's legacy while also forging their own paths. While the untold truth about Dean Martin's family may never be fully known, one thing is certain. The King of Cool's legacy is far from over. His children have provided us with a glimpse into the man behind the public persona, showing us that Dean Martin was more than just an entertainer. He was a loving father who, despite his flaws, left an indelible mark on the world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed learning more about the untold truths of Dean Martin's children, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible celebrity stories.